mental health is something that we don't talk about enough. In the black community, well, we're massively overrepresented in the mental health institutions, even more so than in the prisons. And again, these are questions we have to ask. Well, why?
But once you get a control and an understanding of who you are, no one can use you against you. No one can ever use your mental illness against you. You've already spoke about it, so what you got?
The biggest point in life to resolve mental health is like giving a fuck about a person.
Where did you get the courage? I got the courage for 2 words. I care.
It's Chill Will Radio, where connections will be made, advice will be given, jokes will be told, and things will get real. My name is Willis Cooks, and I'm your host. But understand this show is not meant to be used as a substitute for a relationship with a licensed mental health professional. Enjoy the show, y'all. Yo, what's the deal? Welcome, everyone, to another dope episode of Chill Will Radio, and it's the last episode of the year. Last episode of the decade, man, we made it through another one, and first and foremost, thank you to those individuals who've listened to this show throughout the year, who's listening to the show right now. Hell, if this is your first episode, good looking, man. And I say this in every show, man. Just good looking to even those individuals who just take a quick second to look and they realize they don't really rock with it, Because it takes a lot for people to actually want to listen to something that they've never even thought about listening to before. It takes a lot for those individuals to try something new. So even if you're listening to this for 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 5 seconds, shit, whatever, good looking, man. And I'm at a place right now, especially with this week. I'm at a place right now in which I'm trying to figure out what to do in order to be more accountable for myself. I haven't, and my man Didier kind of just told me, but haven't seen too many New Year, New Me posts, and I'm finna leave all these people behind and stuff like that this year. And I don't know, I think that's kind of dope. People have to realize they shouldn't use the year as a marker to become better. They shouldn't use the year as a marker they shouldn't use the end of the year or the beginning of a new year to become better or to get rid of toxic people or whatever. Because anytime you want to start something new, anytime you want to start something fresh, you can just start. Right? You can start it today. You don't have to wait. You don't have to do anything. And then the purpose of waiting, and if you're actually waiting, right? It's kind of like, let me sink in my bullshit just a little bit longer. Let me sit in my negativity just a little bit longer. Those are some of the things that we're kind of unconsciously telling ourselves because it's hard to get out of it. And that may be the other thing that we may be unconsciously telling ourselves. Do I really believe I can get out of this negative behavior or this negative habit? Or do I really believe I can get rid of these people? Do I really believe I can become the dope person that I'm trying to become? And a lot of the times I think it's important that, especially when it comes to this year, or every year in particular, but especially if you're trying to accomplish something, I believe it takes 2 things. Obviously, consistency, but it also takes momentum, right? So a lot of us who have New Year's resolution, I've never had a New Year's resolution. I've had certain things that I wanted to accomplish throughout that year or certain focal points, but I've never had a New Year resolution. But if you're trying to start something new, create that momentum. Start it early. Don't wait to the year to start something new. Don't try to create a marker for yourself. Don't try to do any of that, because what's going to happen is when that year comes, it's just going to give you, another day. I'm just going to start on the 2nd, or I'm just going to start on the 3rd. The next thing you know, it's July 8th, and you still ain't did the thing that you told yourself you were going to do, right? Like, takes the momentum, but it also, like I said, takes the consistency. 1 day at a time, 1 inch at a time. You're going to grow 1 second at a time, right? I believe I said this in a post like a few days ago. Like, let's not worry about, taking over this year if we don't know how to seize the day, right? Let's worry about the day that we are facing right now. Let's worry about this hour, this second, this minute. Let's worry about in those small increments, because if we're not able to fully understand how to control or how to seize the day or seize that quick little hour or be mindful and be present within that moment, we are not finna be able to get through the whole year, right? We're not going to be able to get through that whole 365 because it's a lot. And because it's a lot, that's going to give us the ability and the okay to kind of chill out, to kind of relax, to put it off to tomorrow. When in reality, putting off to tomorrow is the worst thing that you could possibly do. I think Denzel Washington said this in one of his speeches, is that ease is the biggest threat ease is more of a threat to process than hardship, right? Ease is more of a threat to process than hardship. Take it easy. If you feel like, things are getting too hard, if you feel like you're rushing it, slow down. Just don't stop. So with a lot of the things that we're trying to accomplish in 2020, slow down on some of the things that you're doing, because you have that whole year to accomplish whatever you're trying to accomplish. Just don't stop. Whatever you pick up, whatever you're trying to do, just don't stop. Even if you are working at it 10 minutes for that day, it is better to focus. It is better to focus at one thing for 10 minutes than to be sitting there wondering, pondering things for 10 hours. It is way better to focus on something for 1 hour than to be thinking about something for 10 hours. Because what's doing is you're building that work. You're building that momentum. You're going to learn by doing. You're going to create happiness by doing. You're going to create whatever you need by doing, not by thinking. Right? A lot of the time, and a lot of my clients and patients, they get stuck in this planning phase. Right? They get stuck in this planning phase, and I'm going to be in my room. I'm going to plan out what are some of the things I'm going to do in order to get through my depression, or to get through my anxiety, or to get over this crutch or this hurdle. I'm going to plan it out. Okay, I'm going to leave the house today. I'm going to hit this one person up today. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go there. You're planning and planning and planning, but your planning is getting nowhere if you're not just getting up and doing, if you're not just getting up and acting, right? A lot of the times, planning can be an excuse to not want to do something. And that could be the one thing that is telling us, okay, I'm making progress, but at the same time, you're lying to yourself, because you're not really making progress, because you're not getting up and moving, right? So the one thing that, I've been trying to really figure out how to do this year, how to do the upcoming year, and what I've been kind of researching and trying to think to myself and try to come up with little experiments, is how am I going to keep myself accountable? Because self-accountability is a very hard thing, right? It's easy to have a friend help you be accountable. Everybody needs like an accountability partner or an accountability buddy, like somebody like that to just keep you on your shit. But how are you, keeping you on your shit? How are you keeping yourself accountable? What are you doing to make sure that you are all the way good, right? And it's hard, because what happens is we fight with our thoughts a lot. We fight with our thoughts a lot, and that causes us to kind of just say, forget it sometimes, right? Causes us to say, forget it sometimes, because now we're just like, I'll put it off. And like I said earlier, putting things off to the next day is a very bad thing, because that could create momentum. You could create the momentum of putting things off. You could create a habit of putting things off, right? And that's something that we have to be mindful of moving into the next year. How are you keeping yourself accountable with whatever you're doing, for whatever goal, for whatever journey, for whatever benchmark or finish line, or whatever you're trying to accomplish? What are you doing to keep yourself accountable? Focus on that, right? What are you doing to keep yourself accountable, right? For me, I haven't figured out what I'm going to be doing yet to keep myself accountable, but that's something that I'm still focusing on. That's something that I'm still working on, right? Because a lot of the time, especially with a lot of the things that I do, I keep a lot of the stuff in my head. And because I keep a lot of the stuff in my head, I sometimes forget. sometimes forget because it's not on paper or my mind is elsewhere, and it just get lost, right? Especially when it comes to certain goals. You get in the habit of putting it off, and you don't have anyone there to keep you accountable. So what are you going to do to keep yourself accountable? Are you going to not spend no money? Are you going to put some money to the side? Are you going to not give yourself a reward? Whatever it is, set yourself up to where you could be able to come out on top and get through those challenges or those goals that you put out for yourself. Okay? That was a long, little check-in piece or whatever, but hey, this is what it is, man. But moving on forward into the self-care piece. And this is, I believe, is thoroughly important for the new year, right? The one thing that we always need to do, and this is something we should be doing, not really on a daily basis, but more so on a monthly basis or a weekly basis. One of the things that we need to do, and one of the things that we need to implement into our self-care regimen, is to always make sure that we are reevaluating our needs. Make sure you're reevaluating your needs, right? Because your self-care regimen, the thing that you're doing to take care of yourself, will switch based upon the needs that you have, right? Because if you have a need of saving right now, if saving and becoming financially stable is very, very important for you right now, your self-care of getting your nails done every week, or getting your hair done every week, or getting those manicures and pedicures, getting those facials done, that self-care is going to change, right? So your self-care is going to adapt. See, sometimes, and I was also having a conversation with Didier about this, and I think also with another homeboy of mine, I think last night, is that sometimes we lose the motivation because we get bored. And when we get bored, we're going to we try to sit there and fight that boredom, but it's either two things that could possibly happen. One, because you're bored, you need to throw something else in there in order to spice things up, or maybe you just need to stop the thing that you're being bored at. Maybe you've had your fix. Maybe you are full of whatever you're doing, right? You can't do the same thing all day, every day. Everything is going to come to an end, whether it is going to come to an end in 1 week, 2 years, 3 years, or whatever. It's all going to come to an end. So be okay with the time in which you may need to call it quits. Same thing with the needs that you need to reevaluate. If you reevaluate your needs and you see that need does not need to be met anymore, but that need is kind of quote unquote important to you, right? Let it go, right? Let it go. Because we don't want to hinder a need, and then we don't want to dismiss a need that is becoming a priority. See, we have to prioritize a lot of our needs. And if we don't prioritize our needs, the needs that are most important, they're not really going to be met. They're not really going to get the attention that they deserve. So we're going to have to constantly go through this whole reevaluation phase. And when you go through this reevaluation phase, understand that it's okay when you're switching things up, such as your self-care, such as your coping skills, such as the people that you're hanging around, right? Because the people may not be conducive to the things that you're trying to do at that moment, right? Your friends may not be conducive towards your needs at this moment. A lot of us have to come to accept that, right? That our friends they may be really dope people, but for what I'm doing right now, you're not needed. And that's okay. Right? Obviously, you're not going to be a dickhead and be like, yo, fuck you. You don't need to be needed. You're not going to be that guy. And you don't need to be that guy. That's really rude. But accept the fact that friend isn't needed. And accept the fact that you may not be needed in that friend's life at that moment either. Right? You may not be important for that person right there. I say this all the time, is that, we all have certain roles, and your role within that person's life may not be important at that time. Right? The role that you play may not be a need anymore. And accept that. Right? And be cautious of those, be aware of those individuals who have overstayed their welcome, who are trying to outplay their role once you're done reevaluating your need. Right? So be aware of that. Be aware of the self-care that's going to change. Be aware of the coping skills that are going to change. And be aware of the people in your life that are going to change. Because you're going to begin to figure out that you don't need them at that point in time, right? So the one thing that I want everyone to implement within their self-care regimen once a week, once a month, is to make sure that you are consistently re-evaluating your needs. Make sure that you're consistently re-evaluating your needs. One of the ways you can do that is just to write down the need that you feel is that's important for you at this moment. If it's finances, okay, what about finances is important to you? Okay, if paying off these bills and paying off these debts is important to you, have you succeeded in paying off these debts and these bills? If you have succeeded, then that need isn't a priority anymore, right? Write down what's important to you. Write down certain goals or a plan towards accomplishing those specific things. And once you've accomplished that, then those needs aren't that important anymore, because those needs aren't really becoming a need anymore. It's more so becoming something that you can put on the back burner. Okay? So the self-care piece that I want everyone to implement within their self-care regimen, whether it be once a week or once a month or whatever, make sure that we are always consistently re-evaluating our needs. And when we re-evaluate our needs, be aware that that self-care may change. Be aware that that coping skill may change, and be aware that people that you have in your life at that moment may not be needed anymore. So be okay with backing off from that one person because they are not aligned with the needs that's important for you at this moment. All right. So moving on forward into the main topic, right? And the main topic is kind of in addition into what I was speaking about earlier, but it's just more so closing out the year, right? And one of the things that I see a lot in terms of people who are speaking about, yeah, the year is over and next year is going to be me and I'm going to do this next year and next year is going to be my year. Maybe because they haven't done whatever they needed to do within this year. Maybe because they haven't accomplished whatever they needed to accomplish this year. And what we were speaking about last week on the show when I had my man Stevon on it, is that, like, yeah, there are bad things that happen to us this year. This year, every year. There are bad things that happen to us all the time. You know, but what positive things have happened to you this year? What are some of the things that you've accomplished that you didn't realize that you were going to accomplish? What are some of those new hobbies that you picked up? What are some of those new goals that you was able to accomplish that happened? Right? What are some of the new passions that you have came across? What about the new people that you have met this year? Right? What about all of these people that came into your life abruptly and suddenly that you didn't even know was going to be there? Right? Maybe you met a friend that's going to be way more impactful than your current best friend will ever be in your life. Right? You don't know what it is. Right? So be thankful of the people that you have met. Be thankful of the goals that you have accomplished. Be thankful of the passions and of the new habits that you have, accomplished. Be thankful of the toxic characteristics you've been able to get over. Right? Because we always speak about push those toxic people away, get those toxic people out of our lives and things of those sorts. But here's the thing. If you always catch yourself being around toxic people, it's not that that person is toxic, it's that you have toxic characteristics, right? Be mindful of that, right? Be thankful if you've been able to identify that toxic characteristics within that. Be mindful and thankful that you were able to identify that toxic characteristic within you, right? Because we don't want to get to a place to where we're just bitter. We don't want to get to a place to where, we're just not pleased where we're at. But one of the things that's most important when it comes to closing out the year, just be confident in where you ended up at. Like, it's okay. Like, the day is going to move on regardless. Time is going to move forward regardless. You're going to have another shot towards accomplishing whatever you want to accomplish. Just because this year is ending, that doesn't mean your time is ending. That doesn't mean the clock is ending. Like, no. Be confident in where you're at. Be confident and be okay with how you ended the year. And if you didn't end the year in a place or in a situation in which you wanted to be in, that's cool. That don't mean you have to give up and say forget it and say fuck it towards those things that you want to accomplish, towards moving to that place that you want to get into, towards getting that new car, towards, you know, moving into that new apartment or that new house. It doesn't matter if you was able to accomplish it last year. It doesn't matter at all. What matters is, are you going to continue to work towards accomplishing what you want to accomplish? And if you give up on it just because the year is ending, you never wanted it in the first place. You never truly wanted it, because you should not be able to give up on it just because the calendar is starting over. Because essentially that's just what it is. The calendar is starting over. So you shouldn't give up on those things that you weren't able to accomplish. Because there's a lot of things within 2019 that I wanted to accomplish, but I haven't accomplished. And I haven't accomplished because of like anxieties. I haven't accomplished because of certain financial things that randomly popped up. I haven't accomplished because of like personal fears and things of those sorts. But what I've realized is those anxieties and those fears and those financial issues that kind of popped up, I've been able to overcome them. And being that I've been able to overcome them, I found new ways to overcome anxiety. I found new ways to overcome fear. I found new ways to become financially stable, right? Financially more disciplined, right? We're never fully going to be able to grow if we don't have any sort of challenge, if we're not, you know, pushed. And those abrupt moments in our lives that are going to be there in 2020, they're meant for you to grow. Meant for you to grow, right? So be confident in the way that you end the year, right? And even in a decade, like look at the 10-year span that we are at, right? I'm 28 right now. 28. I was 18 10 years ago. From 18 to 28, if we're just looking at this year, and if we're just looking at these past few months, and you may be like, yo, I didn't do this, and you may look down. But if you look at where you were at within that 10-year span, if you look at the trend that you have, maybe you're doing way better than you think you are doing. Because there are points in my life within this decade and within this year, I was just down. But if I look at the trend from 18 to 28 within this decade, yo, I've been consistently moving forward. Because at 18 years old, I was homeless, sleeping in the car. You know, at 18 years old, I didn't know what I was doing at all. You know, at 18 years old, I was just moving around, selling drugs, doing what I got to do just to, you know, eat. But at 28, I ain't homeless. At 28, I'm not just moving around just trying to eat. You know, within that 10-year span, I was able to get an undergraduate degree, 2 master degrees, get dope jobs, meet dope people, you know, find new passions, recreate myself, find myself. If we look at the things that we were able to do within this 10-year span, within this decade, look at the upward trend that you've been going. Because there's going to be times in which you have a bad day, bad month, bad year. That's just life. Shit goes left. But if we pay attention into how we're evolving and how we're growing, that's going to keep us pushing, right? Another thing that's important that we do is that we have to be mindful of how much we're just going with the flow of things. We have to be more mindful of how much we're going with the flow and be more critical in disrupting that flow if you feel as if that flow is disrupting you. We have to be more mindful in disrupting that flow if you feel like that flow is disrupting you. Because, like I said earlier, if we just put stuff off to the side, and push it to the next day, that's going to create a habit. I didn't go to the gym today, and I didn't go to the gym tomorrow, and it was whatever. Now it's like a week. And then it's easy as hell to get rid of a habit, but it's hard as hell to create a habit. And once you've gotten rid of that habit, good luck trying to create it again. I'm not saying that it's impossible, but it's going to be extremely, extremely hard. So find certain things to throw in the fire to disrupt that flow so you don't get bored, right? Because that's what's going to happen. right? 2 weeks within the year, 3 weeks within the year. Some of those resolutions that you all have made, you probably won't be able to continue to work at them because you're just like, put it off. You forgot about it, right? The gym is packed the first 2 weeks out of the year. After those first 2 weeks, it go back to normal real quick, right? It goes back to normal because that momentum, that flow was lost. So once you begin to feel bored, throw something in the fire to kind of keep you moving, okay? And once you throw something more in the fire to kind of keep you moving, that's going to cause you to be more intentional. And that's something that we all need to make sure we're mindfully doing this upcoming year. Shit, now, right? Be more intentional about where you're at. Be more intentional about who you hang around with. Be more intentional about the people in your circle. Be more intentional about the time in which you're spending with negative people in your life, right? Be more intentional about your time. Be more intentional about your breath. Be more intentional about your money. Be more intentional about the work that you're doing, about your energy, about, being mindful. Be more intentional about everything. Because when we're just intentional about a lot of things, it's going to cause us to be present. And it's always a beautiful thing to make sure that you're present in a situation because you're going to be able to give your fullest attention. So moving forward into 2020, I want you all to make sure that you are thoroughly intentional. Intentional in your acts. Intentional in being accountable. Intentional in moving forward. And intentional in doing the best that you could possibly do in whatever the situation may be. Okay? So moving on forward into the question that I want everyone to kind of sit with. The question I want everyone to kind of have in their head when it comes to it, right? And this goes back into being intentional. What is the one reason as to why you're not intentional about your life? Why are you not currently intentional about your life? And if you are not intentional, what can you be intentional towards within your life? Find that one thing to be intentional towards. Find it so you can have something to work towards. Okay? So, to everyone that's listening and tuning in and all that good stuff. Good looking, man. It is the end of the year. This is the last show. This is the last show of the decade, man. I'm excited for 2020. I'm excited for the things that I have planned. I'm excited for the goals that I have to accomplish. I'm excited for this decade, right? I'm excited to see where I'm going to be at in 2030. I'm excited to see where I'm going to be at 30. God damn. 38. Fuck. 38 is the next decade. God damn. Whew. Sheesh. Okay. Well, at 38, it's going to come anyway. But be excited for it. Welcome it. Welcome the change. Welcome the new things that are coming because they're going to come regardless. 10 years is going to come regardless. Tomorrow is going to happen regardless. Welcome it with open arms because you cannot fight it, because you cannot escape it. So whatever is going to come, however it's going to come, whether it come fast, whether it come slow, whether you're in a good space, whether you're not in a good space, whatever the case is, just welcome it because that change is what's going to cause you to grow. Okay? That change is what's going to cause you to be better. That change is what a lot of us need. Whether it be a change in our schedule, a change in our friendships, a change in our routine, or change in whatever. Whatever that change may be, welcome it. Welcome it with open arms. Grab it by the horns and go with it. Don't try to fight it. Because you are always going to lose. Always going to lose. Always going to lose. So as always, to all those individuals who are listening and tuning in and gonna hear this next year good looking, never forget, ain't no wealth without your mental health. So please stay blessed. Take care of yourself. Be great, y'all. Catch y'all next year. Peace.